What is good, Mexit planners? One of the things that comes up is kind of our trauma with dealing with the police back in the United States versus dealing with the police here in Mexico. And one of the things that is triggering for a lot of people when they arrive in Mexico is that the police officers drive with their siren lights on all the time. Like when you're in a local neighborhood or you're driving down the street, you see police officers with their patrol lights on. And it's kind of alarming for a lot of African Americans because you just don't know if you're being pulled over or what's going on. Well, today I actually got pulled over, and I'm going to share how that experience was with you while it's still fresh. I'm literally just getting back into the house right now, and I wanted to record this video while all the details of the incident was still very, very fresh on my mind. So let's get it. All right, y'all, if you watched the end of the daddy-daughter day date, you know that video ended with a little bit of surprise, and that was basically with us getting pulled over on the expressway as we were leaving the Tangies. One of the things that I mentioned earlier in the intro is that a lot of African Americans come to Mexico with a little bit of trauma from the police. And, you know, with the year of George Floyd and all those things, just lived experiences, I myself don't like being pulled over by the police, particularly in the United States, because you just really never know how that's going to go. Here in Mexico, my experience with the police has been nothing but stellar. And the only previous, real experience I've had is when I actually had to call the cops on a guy who entered my property. And if you missed that video that I posted about a year ago, go and check it out. I got the whole thing on video, and I'll leave a link to it above. But today I'm finishing up our daddy-daughter day date, and I wasn't really paying attention to how fast I was going. I'm not admitting to doing the speed that they claimed I was doing, which was 39 over the speed limit of 80 kilometers. They said I was doing 119 kilometers on the expressway, which if you do the math, so they said I was doing about 80 miles an hour. But I don't think I was quite doing 80. I was really keeping up with the flow of traffic. I may have been doing a little fast. I was in the fast lane, but I definitely wasn't paying attention to the speedometer because I didn't see my speed or the cop roll up on me. I just saw him when he turned his lights on behind me, which I thought was a normal, like, hey, get over, I'm trying to, get by you, normal type of situation that they normally do, because I didn't feel like I was doing super fast. We were just going home, and I was thinking about where I could buy a particular thing that I didn't see at the Tangies. So anyway, we get, the cop pulls up behind me, he flips his lights on, and I move over. I immediately move over to the next lane. Well, they pull up and they point. They said, you go that way, like you get over. So that's how I actually knew I was being pulled over versus any other time when the police just ride behind you with their lights on. So it was a pickup truck. It was one of the state police officers. And it was actually 3 officers in this particular patrol car. They were in a F-150 pickup truck. The guy comes up to the window, and here's the crazy thing, right? I've lived in Mexico now for 4 years, and I didn't feel any of the anxiety that I would have felt in the United States. And that was pretty striking to me, because in my mind, I knew the worst that was gonna happen was he's either gonna write me a ticket or he's gonna let me go. One of those 2 scenarios. Like, it wasn't gonna be a big deal, right? I wasn't gonna have to get out of the car. He wasn't gonna frisk me. He wasn't gonna embarrass me in front of my daughter. It wasn't gonna be any of those things. My vehicle is registered in my name. I went through that whole process personally, so I know what it's like. So I know that they know that's my car. And speaking of registration, I'll tell you more about that as we get into this story, but I felt very calm, actually, that this was going to be just a simple traffic violation. You pull over, they write you a ticket, and you go about your day. The cop pulls up, and again, he speaks 0 English, which I don't expect him to speak English. I'm in Mexico, and so, we're conversing in Spanish. And, he just asked me, hey, did you realize you were doing 120? And I was like, no, I didn't. Honestly, I was thinking about where I was going to buy. I was looking for ashtrays. So I was thinking about where I was going to go buy some ashtrays for an event that I'm going to have. And, he basically said, like, hey, do you have your license and registration? I gave him that, produced that information. I had it in the glove box, so it was no big deal. I wasn't concerned about reaching. He didn't have his hand on his gun. It wasn't any of those types of things. He wasn't aggressive or anything, honestly, but professional. The guy was extremely professional and calming. Like, the whole conversation was, you know, kind of matter of fact. Like, hey, did you realize you were going 120? No, I didn't. I'm sorry. He goes, well, the speed limit is 80. With the street it says 90 kilometers an hour. It looks like 90 to me. But I didn't argue the point, and I just remained very courteous and professional and tried to give him the information he needed. He asked me how long did I live in, or where was I going? I told him I was going home. He asked me if I lived here and if I was a resident. I told him I was, and that I lived in, you know, the colonial that I live in. And he asked me how long, and I told him, this was the one mistake I made. I actually told him I lived there 40 years, but I learned a new word today at breakfast, osea, which means I mean, and so I was able to use that filler word, osea, I mean 4 años. And so I was able to tell him that I've lived here for four years instead of 40. Went back to the car, and the other 2 officers came out. He came back to the car with a thick book about this big, and he's flipping through it like a Bible, right? He's like, I'm gonna read you the law very slowly so you know exactly what the laws are here. And he, you know, proceeded to go through the regulation, and he told me that the fine was gonna be 100 times the multa, which is, there's an amount called the UMA that they use to calculate fines. And you'll see that amount written on signs or what have you for like drinking and driving or driving without your seatbelt. So the multa is the amount that they're going to use to calculate. So he told me, and I'm almost certain he said CN. I know for sure he didn't say 25. But he told me it was 100 times the fine. And this is the part where I feel like they were kind of filling me out, but maybe not, right? So anyway, he's explaining that. And he also said that there was another infraction. The second infraction was in the Yucatan. They give you 3 plates. They give you a front license plate, physical plate, a back license plate to put on your car. And they give you a sticker that is basically another license plate, right? It has the same exact numbers. All 3 of those numbers match, but the sticker is supposed to go in your back window. Well, many people don't put that sticker in their back window because the heat melts it to the window, and you'll never ever get that thing off your window. And in fact, in my car, there are already 2 stickers stuck in the front part of the window that will never come out. Like, those things are part of the windshield at this point. And so I didn't put it, when I got the sticker, I talked to some folks about, you know, locals, like, do you ever put this thing in your back window? And they're like, nah, we just throw it in the glove box. So yeah, it's against the law technically. And he mentioned that. And I said, but, you know, are you talking about this sticker? So I reached in the glove box and grabbed it. Again, I didn't think twice about reaching in the glove box because nobody has guns here, right? So it never occurred to me that, you know, I should let him know that I'm reaching in the glove box. I didn't keep my hands at 10 and 2. And in fact, I had a little pouch on that I was reaching in to pull out my ID, and the guy didn't seem alarmed. He didn't seem scared. He didn't seem anything other than, hey, I'm just doing my job. Let's get through this kind of thing. The guy was super courteous and super professional. The thing that I will say is, you know, once he got the information, he's like, yeah, we're going to write you a ticket. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. You know, I'll just go ahead and take the ticket, please. And that ended the conversation. Now, my daughter woke up, you know, she was in the back sleep, exhausted from all the walking we had done. And she asked for her phone, I thought, to play games, but she actually took a picture, which I'll show you in this video. So this is the picture that she took while they were writing the ticket. And there was a lot of discussion going on at the car as I was looking back at them. There was a lot of discussion happening in the, you know, at the truck, but it took them, it seems like 15 to 20 minutes to write this ticket. Again, everything is manual and they got to look it all up. So it's a manual process, and it took a minute. But the third officer, or the second officer, which I assume was the supervisor, came to the windshield and presented the ticket. And he just simply said, hey, I need you to sign. I just need you to sign this ticket here and, you know, write your name and sign it, essentially, is what he said. And he explained to me that I have, you know, 15 days to pay this ticket early. And if I pay it within 15 days, I actually get a discount. So that's interesting. And we talked about, you know, some of the places to pay it. He mentioned a spot in Oriente that I could pay it. Or I asked him if, you know, I could pay it at the main SSP office, driver's office, or if there was an option to pay it at the SSP building. There's a driver's office that's behind the City Center Plaza, which is just up the street from me, which is where I'll probably go tomorrow and just take care of this ticket. Now, the ticket for being quote unquote 39 kilometers over the speed limit was 25 times the multa, which is the UMA. So it was 25 times the UMA, which is 108.57. So that is the fee that they charge anytime they apply a fine. And so I had to pay 25 times that UMA price or the multa, which came out to 2,714 pesos and 25 cents. Now, that's not a little amount. That's $158, give or take the current exchange rate. But I know I was speeding. I know I was doing more than the speed limit. I don't know that I was doing that much more, but it's all good, right? It's an experience. I get to make this video and share with you guys the experience. The key takeaway for me is that it was the most tranquil police stop that I've ever been a part of. And I've been pulled over many times by the police in the States. Easiest police situation I think I've ever experienced as far as being pulled over, and it did result in a ticket. I asked for the ticket, which is all good, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to pay any type of bribe. Just take your ticket, pay it early. It's probably gonna be less than what you would have spent if you tried to take care of it in another manner. So that is it. That is the story of me getting pulled over today. I'm actually not sad about it at all. I broke the law. I got pulled over. I got a ticket. The cops were extremely professional and they were just doing their job. Now, I will add this to the story. I almost never see people getting pulled over here. It's like, it's interesting because you never know if you're getting pulled over. And if you do get pulled over, the way you know is they're gonna point you, right? They're gonna say, go over there. So that's how you know you're getting pulled over. But I almost never see people getting pulled over. But today on my way home, on the Periférico, which is the perimeter that's around Merida, I saw no less than 5 cars that were pulled over, and none of them had stickers. So I think that today is an operation. It's one of those days where they're just cracking down and they're looking for people that don't have stickers in their window, and those are the folks that they're pulling over. So the other thing that I'll add is they don't have radar. Like the cops didn't say, I shot you with the radar and this is what we clocked you at. They just said, this is how fast you were going, which I don't know how that works. But, there's definitely no radar or LiDAR or any lasers or any of those things happening. But I wasn't going to fight and try to prove the point that I wasn't going whatever he said I was going, because I'm a guest in their country. Even though I live here, I'm still a guest in Mexico. So all of that to say, got my ticket, I'll take care of it. I'll let you know how that process goes. If you want to know more about how the earlier part of our day went, check out the video over here. But until next time, MexitPlans Monty, move.